Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Iswary Lawanda. I'm going to present the paper by the title of Gareng Petruk Game as a Way of Cultural Sustainable to Z Generation. The background of this paper that culture is an enabler and a driver of the economic, social, and environmental dimension of sustainable development. It is one of the major domains in circle of sustainability. Legacy to the next generation, which appeal to be Z generation having internet technology, needs some method and strategy that should be appropriate. Using storytelling as the way to transfer tradition, as in the tradition way of life, should be the strategy combined with modern learning method of collaborative. Redefinition of storytelling as traditional method in generating culture, activated using rational and modern collaborative learning, making use of game as technology development. It is in line with the circles of sustainability approach that include culture as one of its major domain. On top of all, to position kids of their own skin and outreach themselves in internalizing the culture. Story become major stuff to consider appropriately and effectively selected by parties whom taking responsible on the activities. Participation action research is conducted by 11 mentors of lecturers and students to 50 students of a primary public school in Depok, Indonesia, and 4 students from private primary school in Jakarta. The storytelling performed 3 times in each small groups of kids. Monitor provide room for discussion using small chat room meeting. The way each component is actually understood and the relative emphasis it receives varies nonetheless from one part theory and practice to another. Firstly, mentor guides the kids to give name of the group. In this small group consists of kids, mentor, and a teacher. Kids are playing the game, supervised by each mentor within 15 minutes, then followed by discussion using structured question within 20 minutes. Presentation performed in a big meeting room of Zooms consists of all mentors, kids, teacher, all of us are 71 participants. During the big meeting, there are 2 mentors in charge of organizing the meeting as host and moderator. The result tells that the story covers by intentionally fabricated game Gareng Petruk called Punakawan Z has specifically indicated the representation of a traditional culture which containing with values, behavior, mores of Indonesian. The discussion game itself represents the futuristic way of life from current generation to the next generation, implicitly trying to convey an intent meaning of sustaining culture. The role-playing game played by kids may easily convey the intentional meaning using the proper method for the kids to accept their own way of learning and with their own way to learn the symbolic meaning of the game. Game enhance the storytelling activities as well as the transfer of cultural tradition to the next Z generation using their own way of character to reaffirm cultural sustainable. Game represent the futuristic way of life. Games are this digital display develop creative outlet and to generate profit. Game of role-playing is the evolution of the way and consists of storytelling, whereas the player himself becoming the image of storyteller and also being the audience at the same time when the game is being played. The role-playing game for kids to accept in their own way of learning with their own will to learn. A game in which players assume the roles of characters in an image settings. Players take responsibility for acting out these roles within a narrative, either through literal acting or through a process of structured decision-making regarding character development. Action taken within many games succeed or fail according to a formal system of rules and guidelines. Players physically perform their character's action. In both of these forms, an arranger called a game master or mentor decides on the rules and setting to be used. Game enhance the storytelling activity. Storytelling describes the social and cultural activity of sharing stories, sometimes with improvisation, theatric, or embellishment. In this case, role-playing game becomes the activity of sharing stories of fabricated Punakawan Z. Every culture has its own stories or narrative, which are shared as a means of entertainment, education, cultural preservation, or instilling moral value. A role-playing game is a game in which the participants assume the roles of characters and collaboratively create stories. The importance of cultural sustainability lies within its influential power over the people. From discussion we described before, we face the challenge. Storytelling has been a way to nurture ideals in every society, as well as role-playing in this global world to generate knowledge and wisdom as legacy to the next generation accustomed with that of digital game. Government, researcher, and industry as producer need to fabricate an intentional game of role-playing to be transferred in purposefully collaborative learning as a way to transfer and nurture the image, ideal, and characters in a program called storytelling. It concludes that the package of storytelling, game of role-playing, and learning collaborative method performance is to build a world in which the story can evolve. Key is also the value of self, allow the value of self and community to connect and be learned as a whole by and of the kids themselves in an authoritative and self-directed way. Stories are to build kids' character. Stories are illustrative and easily memorable. Role is an image. Role-playing is to train and rehearse situations for future performance and to improve ability within roles. It is the way to cultural sustainable for kids of Z generation in sustainable development. Thank you for listening and for the intention. I remain here.